Hi, Chris here. Today I'd like to talk about fats and oils. I think there's quite a few myths out there about oils and fats, and I think generally people are a little bit confused about the role of fats and oils in a diet and what ones we should be consuming and what ones we shouldn't be, and what ones are harmful. So I'm just going to talk about, initially we're going to talk about a little bit of chemistry of what makes a fat or an oil. Everyone's heard out there about saturated fats and unsaturated fats. The unsaturated fats, then they get broken down to monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. And then the polyunsaturated fats get broken down to omega-3s and omega-6. So I just want to really simplify it so it makes it easy to understand. So we're going to start with the saturated fat. For many years, for decades now, saturated fat has kind of been given a bad rap about being an initiator or a cause for heart disease and clogging your arteries and so on. Well, a lot of recent science has shown that that really was a myth. The importance of coconut oil and coconut at the moment is a superfood, but coconut itself is 92% saturated fat. So it's the most condensed form of saturated fat there is in the diet or in the natural world. So it's got a bad rap. Other sources of saturated fat are butter. Butter consists of 66% saturated fat. We've got palm oil and kernel oil. And we've also got the fats that we get from animals as well, like lard and those sorts of things, which have a big proportion of that as saturated fat. Now, the chemistry of saturated fat is that the fat has got carbons and hydrogens, and they're bonded by single bonds. And I'm going to explain the importance of that in a minute. With monounsaturated fats, it's called mono because an unsaturated fat has a double bond in it. So there's a two bond connection between the carbon and a hydrogen in one of them, which means mono. So that's the name monounsaturated. So sources of monounsaturated are olive oil, avocado oil or avocados. A lot of nuts and seeds have monounsaturated fat in it. And then the next group, polyunsaturated. And unsaturated means double bond, and poly means many. So there's many double bonds between carbons and hydrogens, not just one. Now, the importance of a double bond and a single bond is that with a single bond, it means that that bond between the carbon and hydrogen is very strong. So heating or being exposed to light won't cause any harm to it. So it's very heat resistant and very light resistant. So saturated fats are great to be using when you're roasting something or cooking because they stay true to the original form. They don't change their form. And they stay in a form that the body utilizes and that can actually digest and break down very quickly. And saturated fats are actually a great source of energy because we actually burn that energy very quickly. A lot of people kind of feel that when they eat these fats, the fat is just going to go to their hips and cause them to become obese. And the truth is that the body utilizes this fat very well, and it will actually burn it off as energy very quickly. So a lot of the times with fats, and especially saturated fats, you can actually lose weight consuming saturated fats. Coconut's a great source of that. There's a fat called a medium chain fatty acid and saturated fat and coconut oil especially, which a lot of athletes use as an energy source. So, and then we go into the unsaturated fats where we're getting double bonds, and whenever there's a double bond present, then it's not as stable oil. So when it's exposed to light and heat. So monounsaturated fat like olive oil, for example, it's got one double bond. You can use it for very light heating, but mainly it's best for just using as a dressing in its raw form. Because the more you heat it, the more that oil or that fat will change in chemical structure. And it will turn into something that the body will find hard to actually break down and digest, and then you may have trouble with actually putting on weight because your body's not breaking it down and using it as an energy source. You can see that this is quite the opposite of what's been kind of told out there in mainstream, is that vegetable oils, which are mainly unsaturated fats, are good for you and saturated fats are bad for you, where really the beneficial nature of saturated fats is that they're quite easy to break down and digest. The next group, polyunsaturated fat, where there's many double bonds, then you can't heat those oils at all. So, for example, with those oils, flaxseed oil. A lot of seeds have a lot of, like sesame seed oil, have a lot of polyunsaturates in it. Canola oil, all these types of oils and fats, chia seeds as well, have you heard? These are deemed superfoods, but if you use them in the wrong way, then they can actually be disastrous for your health. So they're not very resistant to light either. So hence why a lot of these monounsaturates and polyunsaturated oils, you'll see them in dark glass bottles, because it's protecting it from light so they don't degrade. So recommendations with oils and fats is that ideally when you're buying oils or fats at the supermarket, you want to get them in dark glass bottles, especially monounsaturated fats like olive oil and avocado oil, and any nuts or seed oils, which are also polyunsaturated oils. You want to get them in dark glass bottles, which will preserve that oil. You're not getting a rancid oil. Also, you want to look for extra virgin as well. So extra virgin oils, which mean that they had minimal processing. And also, when it comes to cooking, using a saturated fat with cooking. So coconut oil is a great one to use. You only have to use a very small amount, and it goes a long way. But if you're not using coconut oil, butter's a good one. Again, you want to get organic butter's probably the best. But even butter from the supermarkets is much better than using vegetable oils and processed vegetable oils with cooking. And also, just keeping in mind that monounsaturates and polyunsaturated fatty acids or oils, you should be really using them in their raw form and not cooking with them, because that will degrade the oil and actually turn them into what we call a trans fat. So this component of trans fat, which really is the bad guy when it comes to the fat kingdom, and trans fats come about through these polyunsaturated fats especially, and sometimes the monounsaturated fats, where they get chemically changed, which is called a term hydrogenation, and they use that in the food industry to make things like margarine. So that's how we get a liquid vegetable oil, and then all of a sudden it's in a solid form like butter. The oils are actually being chemically changed in their structure to make something that was originally a liquid into a solid form that resembles butter, but it's made out of oils, and that's what we call margarine. And that's not a great type of fat. Margarine is terrible for your health, and your body will not break it down very well, and you actually store it in your body, and you actually put on weight having margarine. So, and it'll go to areas of the body, creating heart disease, all sorts of things, these trans fats and hydrogenated fats. So you'll get these fats will rancify when you're cooking mono and polyunsaturated fatty acids, and your trans fat accumulation will build up in your body, and that's not exactly what you want to do. So hence it's very important to know what fat or oil, the chemistry of it, what I've explained, which will give you an idea of how to use the oil to your benefit and not cause a health problem. With a truly holistic, I see many people who have got blockages or obstructions within their body because of build-up of trans fats. So I just wanted to explain a bit about these oils and the fats in a very simple way that people can take this information when they're going to the supermarket next, or going and buying their fats and oils, and using the fats and oils in the right way, because there's one thing buying the right fats and oils, but also using it in the right way as well, that you're going to get all the health benefits from it and not create a health problem. Thanks for listening. See you next time.